of fear of defeat, returned in a few instances to the practice of human sacrifice. On the other hand, the reciprocity-based, religion-boosting idea of obtaining help from God in reciprocation for good human behavior has probably been vastly constructive. Overall, both inside and outside religions, it seems clear to me that reciprocation tendencies' constructive contributions to man far outweigh its destructive effects. In cases of psychological tendencies being used to counter or prevent bad results from one or more other psychological tendencies, for instance, in the case of interventions to end chemical dependency, you will usually find reciprocation tendency performing strongly on the constructive side. And the very best part of human life probably lies in relationships of affection, wherein parties are more interested in pleasing than being pleased, a not uncommon outcome in display of reciprocate favor tendency. Before we leave reciprocate favor tendency, the final phenomenon we will consider is widespread human misery from feelings of guilt. To the extent the feeling of guilt has an evolutionary base, I believe the most plausible cause is the mental conflict triggered in one direction by reciprocation tendency, and in the opposite direction by reward super-response tendency, pushing one to 100% of some good thing. Of course, human culture has often greatly boosted the genetic tendency to suffer from feelings of guilt. Most especially, religious culture has imposed hard-to-follow ethical and devotional demands on people. There is a charming Irish Catholic priest in my neighborhood who, with rough accuracy, often says, "The old Jews may have invented guilt, but we Catholics perfected it." And if you, like me and this priest, believe that averaged out, feelings of guilt do more good than harm, you may join in my special gratitude for reciprocate favor tendency, no matter how unpleasant you find feelings of guilt. 10. Influence from mere association tendency. In the standard conditioned reflexes studied by Skinner and most common in the world, responsive behavior, creating a new habit, is directly triggered by rewards previously bestowed. For instance, a man buys a can of branded shoe polish, has a good experience with it when shining his shoes, and because of this reward, buys the same shoe polish when he needs another can. But there is another type of conditioned reflex wherein mere association triggers a response. For instance, consider the case of many men who have been trained by their previous experience in life to believe that when several similar items are presented for purchase, the one with the highest price will have the highest quality. Knowing this, some seller of an ordinary industrial product will often change his product's trade dress and raise its price significantly, hoping that quality-seeking buyers will be tricked into becoming purchasers by mere association of his product and its high price. This industrial practice frequently is effective in driving up sales and even more so in driving up profits. For instance, it worked wonderfully with high-priced power tools for a long time, and it would work better yet with high-priced pumps at the bottom of oil wells. With luxury goods, the process works with a special boost because buyers who pay high prices often gain extra status, from thus demonstrating both their good taste and their ability to pay. Even association that appears to be trivial, if carefully planned, can have extreme and peculiar effects on purchasers of products. The target purchaser of shoe polish may like pretty girls, so he chooses the polish with the pretty girl on the can, or the one with the pretty girl in the last ad for shoe polish that he saw. Advertisers know about the power of mere association. You won't see Coke advertised alongside some account of the death of a child. Instead, Coke ads picture life as happier than reality. Similarly, it is not from mere chance that military bands play such impressive music. That kind of music, appearing in mere association with military service, helps to attract soldiers and keep them in the army. Most armies have learned to use mere association in this successful way. However, the most damaging miscalculations from mere association do not ordinarily come from advertisers and music providers. Some of the most important miscalculations come from what is accidentally associated with one's past success, or one's liking and loving, or one's disliking and hating, which includes a natural hatred for bad news. To avoid being misled by the mere association of some fact with past success, use this memory clue. Think of Napoleon and Hitler when they invaded Russia after using their armies with much success elsewhere. And there are plenty of mundane examples of results like those of Napoleon and Hitler. For instance, a man foolishly gambles in a casino and yet wins. This unlikely correlation causes him to try the casino again, or again and again, to his horrid detriment. Or a man gets lucky in an odds-against venture headed by an untalented friend. So influenced, he tries again what worked before, with terrible results. The proper antidotes to being made such a patsy by past success are, 1. To carefully examine each past success, looking for accidental, non-positive factors associated with such success that will tend to mislead as one praises the odds implicit in a proposed new undertaking, and 2. To look for dangerous aspects of the new undertaking that were not present when past success occurred. The damage to the mind that can come from liking and loving was once demonstrated by obviously false testimony given by an otherwise very admirable woman, the wife of a party in a jury case. The famous opposing counsel wanted to minimize his attack on such an admirable woman, yet destroy the credibility of her testimony. And so in his closing argument, he came to her testimony last. He then shook his head sadly and said, "What are we to make of such testimony? The answer lies in the old rhyme. As the husband is, so the wife is. She is married to a clown, and the grossness of his nature drags her down." The jury disbelieved the woman's testimony. They easily recognized the strong misinfluence of love on her cognition. And we now often see even stronger misinfluence from love as tearful mothers, with heartfelt conviction, declare before TV cameras the innocence of their obviously guilty sons. People disagree about how much one should accompany the association called love. In Poor Richard's Almanac, Franklin counseled, "Keep your eyes wide open before marriage and half shut thereafter." Perhaps this eyes half shut solution is about right, but I think it's a prescription. See it like it is, and love and Eating and can also cause miscalculation triggered by mere association. In business, I commonly see people underappraise both the competency and morals of competitors they dislike. This is a dangerous practice, usually disguised because it occurs on a subconscious basis. Another common bad effect from the mere association of a person and the hated outcome is displayed in Persian messenger syndrome. Ancient Persians actually killed some messengers whose sole fault was that they brought untruthful bad news, say of a battle lost. It was
我
actually
觉得是
the
是
messenger to run away
运
and hide
气，
instead of doing his job
运
as a
气的
wiser
展
boss
现。
would have wanted it done. Persian messenger syndrome is alive and well in modern life, albeit in less lethal versions. It is actually dangerous in many careers to be a carrier of unwelcome news. Union negotiators and employer representatives often know this, and it leads to many tragedies.
Why haven't you packed anything?
Knowing their clients will hate them,
Why haven't you packed
unwelcome
anything?
wise settlement will carry on to disaster. Even in places well known for high cognition, one will sometimes find Persian messenger syndrome. For instance, years ago, two major oil companies litigated in a Texas trial court over some ambiguity in an operating agreement covering one of the largest oil reservoirs in the Western Hemisphere. My guess is that the cause of the trial was some general counsel's unwillingness to carry bad news to a strong-minded CEO. CBS, in its late heyday, was famous for the occurrence of Persian messenger syndrome because Chairman Paley was hostile to people who brought him bad news. The result was that Paley lived in a cocoon of unreality from which he made one bad deal after another, even exchanging a large share of CBS for a company that had to be liquidated shortly thereafter. The proper antidote to creating Persian messenger syndrome and its bad effects, like those of CBS, is to develop, through exercise of will, a habit of welcoming bad news. At Berkshire, there is a common...
There is a point that you get to a year, maybe 2 years in, where from a rational standpoint, you probably should quit. But for whatever reason, those successful ones don't. And so that criteria, best advice I can have is be clear in your own head about what you're trying to learn, and then be open to where it comes from. And that's why I think people fuck that up a lot. They don't get really crystal clear on why they're trying to build a startup or what they need to do to be successful. There is going to be a reinvention of analytics in the next few years. We want to be the ones to go lead it. Welcome back to another episode of Like Code. Today we're really excited to be joined by Spencer Skates, CEO and co-founder of Amplitude. So Amplitude went through YC in winter 2012. Amplitude is one of the world's leading analytics platforms, and they're used by some of the biggest companies in the world, like Cursor, DoorDash, and Walmart. Thanks for joining us, Spencer. Absolutely, good to see you here, Arch. So I was really excited to have you here because both of us made people on the internet angry recently, specifically on X or Twitter. I made them angry because I said that a lot of the reason incumbent tech companies can't build AI products is that the engineers are kind of grumpy and don't believe in AI and its capabilities, so they want to build the product. Yeah, people are really mad. Turns out that there are actually a lot of grumpy engineers that don't believe in AI. So I was curious to hear for you as a company that started well before the AI wave and is now moving into AI and building more AI products. How has that changed been for you? What have been some of the challenges you faced? It is hard as a larger company to reorient and rebuild your company to use AI well. And this is, I think, to your point, the huge advantage that a lot of earlier companies that can build from the ground up in this way. I mean, I'll just tell you the Amplitude story. So we were frankly skeptics on AI for a while too. So started to become relevant in 2022, 2023. There's discussion, but we didn't really do that much. And it wasn't until late in 2024 that we're like, okay, we need to get serious because I think this has the potential to reshape analytics and what we're doing. I think, just to defend the skeptics for a second, I think I remember being at a board meeting once. You had all these board investor finance people, and you had all these salespeople. Hey guys, should you look at this AI thing? Isn't that getting hot? Should you guys do it? What's your AI strategy? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, that literally was a question from one of our execs to me. It's like, we gotta get our AI strategy. What's our AI strategy? This is the wrong way to think about what it is we're doing. It's like you guys think you can figure it out, go do it. And I remember one of my co-founders, Jeffrey, actually was the most frustrated because I think he saw a lot of drifting happening in AI, being like, oh, it's gonna replace all these jobs, and it's gonna do all these things, and we're not gonna create this world of abundance, and it's just gonna totally reshape how we're building products and shipping them and how our customers are using them. But the reality was, if you use any of these models at this point, it's like it was not clear at all. I think if you look at the capabilities of any of these models, it's like they're very, very giant. So there's some things that are exceptional about, and there's some things that they're absolutely terrible about. I think the frustrating part is to be told by someone who has no clue about what stuff falls in what bucket. Oh yeah, you should do more of this AI thing. That was frustrating. And so I think there's frankly skepticism on my part. There's skepticism on the part of my co-founders and some of the broader team being able to develop what was actually possible with it.
Has something changed?
Yes, well, I think you saw the transformative effect that AI had on software engineering. Like, no question, if you were using, started by Cursor, but then all these other amazing tools, Cloud Code, Codex, tons and tons of others, it was very clear that you would be alone using these things. And so that was kind of the first thing saying, okay, there's something there, let's go after this. So we really started on this path in earnest in around October of 2024. And kind of two things happened then. One, I hired a new engineering leader, this guy Wade Chambers, who's a Silicon Valley legend. The other is we acquired this company, also a YC company. In both their cases, they were kind of what you needed. So Wade had been working on AI in his previous company and had known a bunch of people who were on the leading edge of leveraging capabilities of models. They had to build a product where they were trying to, they're doing all different things, but they were trying to smartly trigger guides to end users just based on if they were confused. And they created this chatbot that very much like Intercom did that would interact with users and answer support questions and stuff like that. And they had been on leveraging a bunch of model capabilities.
Is that German?
We started to get serious about it. And then since then, it has been I'd like to think we're kind of coming up. I mean, we just launched a whole bunch of AI products in the last few weeks. We did AI feedback, we did visibility, we did our MCP server, and then we're going to go much bigger in December, January, February, where we are going to be coming out with what we call Cursor for Analytics, which I'm incredibly excited about, and I think will dramatically change how people use leverage analytics. But it's taken to transform, Amplitude as an organization. I'd like to think we're still small, about 800 people, product engineering and design. That organization is about 200 people. So, it's like you can really most people in it and change pretty quickly. taken us a full year to get the team kind of really on board and ramped and like believing and seeing ChatGPT, which is the lifestyle type of, and it sounds like you're invested in those moving people on your day-to-day of sort of, hey, what are you doing this AI thing? Yeah, what are excited tech managers? Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. What about internally? Like, what was the vibe internally at Amplitude on team? Like, was there anyone internally asking, hey, like, should we be building AI products or something with AI? There were a few people that were kind of testing out ideas, but I think we were so focused on our regular motion. Like, we were coming out with a lot of other products outside of AI. So we were doing, we launched experimentation, we were building session replay internally, we were building this thing activation, targeted for user based on behavior. So they're doing a lot to do. That was just kind of right in front of us. That was clear, like, okay, we could be much more competitive with, and there's this revenue.
I can't read German.
There were a few folks that were messing around with it, and there were some people that used Cursor and other things, but the organization as a whole did not have. It's not like it was conscious and aware of this change, this massive change that was about to happen. I give a lot of credit to Waze, and I give a lot of credit to the command team being the tip of the spear in terms of showing people what is possible, and then getting the organization to embrace. By early 2025, I was convinced, and I was like, all right, we have to be very aggressive on this. So the first order is to train the organization of what the capabilities of AI are, specifically engineering. What was like the light bulb moment for you when you fit into Disney's being like priority? It's hard to say that there was one moment. We've always had this vision at Amplitude of a self-improving product, where you have a product that dynamically responds to your user feedback. So it knows what features you like, it knows when you're getting frustrated and stuck, it knows how to change things based on your input as a user. And I always thought this vision was like 10 years out, if even that close. And one of the things that became clear, it was actually a lot closer. That moment was actually probably a lot closer than we had realized because of what we saw happening on the coding side of AI.
I only speak 2 languages.
It's clear we're gonna have to go do it. So, and the way to do this is we're gonna have to train. I started working with James, the founder CEO of Command, as well as Wade, our engineering leader, to figure out how we train the organization AI. And we came up with an AI week. Unfortunately, for a bunch of reasons, we weren't able to actually do that until June. But that was a key pivot point.
That game, man, that game is way too fucking. It's not addicting, but it's kind of hard. Played 13 hours yesterday. Still didn't win anything. Okay. Most longest game ever. I went to sleep around 12, but 13 hours yesterday. That's half the day. I still haven't won. So you fell asleep. I mean, you fell asleep around 11.
This is the core difference between building product and SaaS, building product and AI. In SaaS, I mean, it's the best business model and the best product delivery system.
No.
You go to your customers, you ask them what they want and what they're going to pay for. You prioritize that list and you start building it. You get them to those customers.
Basically, I didn't know in the game. Basically,
that's our core competitive advantage. As an analytics company, we're better.
There's different victories. There's domination victory, there's cultural victory, and there's science victory and religious victory. And I was trying to go for domination victory. But the problem is I was up against Germany in the game, and they had tanks, and I was using knights, and I was getting beat really badly. Because I think knights are in the medieval age or something, and then tanks are like the modern era. So basically you can win easily.
New technologies is like the engineers are the early adopters, and they're usually like bugging their like company. I really want to use like this tool, and it's like the companies are resisting, saying it's not like tested yet, it's not safe. But like it seems to be a more common pattern with AI that's like going the other way. Yeah, that's happening. I mean, it's gonna sound extraordinarily reductive, but I think Sam Altman is the best salesperson of this generation, by bar none. Like I think he's done an exceptional job.
It's not really a fun game though. Like I rate the game 6 out of 10. But it was recommended as a strategy game, so I asked AI, what's a good game to help me with business and life, and he said, this game.
The people in power is how technology matters. And the reality is the capabilities are still trying to catch up, and it's not clear if they'll catch up to those aspirations. And so you have, to your point, hard, the opposite disconnect happening, where you had a lot of desire for this thing to happen, but it's not clear if the capabilities are there yet. And so this is why you had a lot of frustration. In Amplitude, as case study, a lot of frustration from engineers being like, man, I see just how tremendous what they feel is curriculum in AI, where it's a lot of talkers.
I took over Norway though.
It's not till the last year that okay, hey, we think the capabilities are here for it to transform the business.
It's not the most fun game to play. If I watch anime, I'll probably have more fun.
The story of the transformation, case tags were just founder-led to do that transformation. Sounds like this is what's going on with Amplitude too. It's coming from you.
Absolutely. So I've had to learn over the last 10 years.
Germany was quite strong in the game as well.
To understand what is possible than using technology and being on the front lines of it. And so that's why it's like you train the entire organization.
The problem is you're up against AI. AI is not that smart, but still, it's actually not that easy.
Basically all the AI stuff that we're working on now. So our MCP server, which we didn't even plan for, like that was actually one of our engineers, Brian Giori, who's incredibly excited. You had one of our engineers, this guy named Chang, who built AI visibility. He was actually going to leave Amplitude to start a company. And we're like, look, just come here, stay here, learn how to do this while getting paid, and we'll teach and coach you, and then we'll fund when you do this. And I think AI visibility, but like, I think there's an opportunity here to like build something for free and give it away. Now like it's been this explosion. Like we have that product launch doubled new signups to Amplitude, which is wild. Like every week it's like we're getting twice as many signups to a free plan as we did before our AI visibility launch. All the way to what we're going to be launching in January, which is we're going to launch a program called Ask AI, which is a global chat interface, very much like Cursor, where you will be able to chat chat with AI and ask it to pull certain charts for you or do analysis or figure out why something has happened to you within your data, and pull that back out to you, to our agents, to like so many different things that come out of this. But it's all been very bottoms up, and then it's about for me and for Wade to sculpt okay, how do we set these up in the organization for success.
So not many large companies like yourself have been able to do this transformation. A lot of them are still stuck, and it's been probably very painful to overcome. What are things that you have to give up to get to where you are right now?
I mean, we've done 2 reorganizations in the engineering, product, and design organization since the start of this year. And so, there were leaders and executives and different people who were very much kind of in the SaaS modality, but who were not on the bleeding edge of AI. That just unfortunately were not quite the right fit for what we were trying to build in the future. And so I ended up having to move folks out of business. I mean, doing that level of reorganization twice in a year is very disruptive. We've also acquired other companies. So we brought in the Kraftful team and Yana, who's been phenomenal. And we brought in Eric and Frank from Inari. We brought in also YC company. We brought in Enzo Crucio from June. Also, I think YC company. Yeah. So we brought in all these great YC founders and then kind of melded them with
The problem is apparently the longer you wait to conquer the city,
I think that specific differences. Like for people who are really successful, I think especially engineers, like who are successful,
the more
and grew up in that environment, and then you can like
the more quickly the enemy upgrades their stuff.
as people who came up in sort of post-AI world, like AI native engineers and believe in it.
To say more uncomfortable thing, like, is it an age gap?
It's an age gap. It's not an age thing per se. It's a mentality thing. Like in the SaaS world, you can do that loop I talked about earlier. Talk to customers, ask them what they want, prioritize that list, build it, deliver it, do it again. Like you kind of, it feels very cliche to say, but you want to take kind of the state of the art in whatever field you're building for, and then start to say, okay, if I were to redo this in the AI native way, why? On the flip side, I think what a lot of these AI native teams are really missing is they haven't learned the product and the problem and why things are solved the way they're solved. And so like they try to create these new interfaces from scratch without drawing on the previous expertise that's happened over the last decade on whatever problem they're solving. And so if you try to build an analytics interface from the ground up where you're just say starting with questions and you're not seeing your data, that actually has its own set of challenges. And so I think what I'll say with the Amplitude teams, like there's some incredible engineers there. I think the ones that adapt the best have always been very in tune with okay, the code is not in itself, it's just like shipping it. That's just a side effect of solving whatever problem for the customer. And then hey, now I need to get up to speed with this new technology, and if I can marry those 2 things, then I'm going to create something amazing.
I guess one of the weird things I've noticed in my own behavior is we have an internal agent infra at YC, and it has access to all our databases.
No, like
Jared recently told me
basically the longer you wait to attack the enemy,
basically it actually fails most of the time.
the more stronger.
In a different way, I try, if it failed with Gemini 3, then I'll try it with, Claude, I'll try it with GP 5.1, like, I'll change the reasoning levels, like, and then eventually I figure it out, and it works. So, whereas, like, in B2B SaaS and or building, sort of standard Web 2.0 software, it's like, man, if it broke even once, like, this thing is a piece of crap, and I'll never use it again. So it's like a weird, you have to, like, rewire your brain to be, it's like working with a child right now.
This is why I think a lot of
The more stronger they
AI
get.
killing SaaS is way overblown, because particularly for a lot of business workflows, like very high guarantees on performance are fun. If you put a record into your CRM, that stuff better be there. You don't want it, oh well, put this in with 80% probability. It's like you want it to be there. And SaaS does a great job. It actually took existing workflows that were handled on-prem or by paper and just moved them to the cloud. And so it wasn't really like, it wasn't any workflow transformation. And this is where I think Andre Karpathy's point is totally right, where a lot of these businesses are trying to overshoot the mark and just say, okay, well, hey, we'll just have this agent handle this workflow end to end. Actually, editing and redoing it, like you talk about, Gary, is actually incredibly important. So how do you create a product that allows you to do that really well, I think is the key challenge that a lot of AI B2B companies are figuring out.
Speaking of things that you have to give up in order to do this, what happened to the existing Amplitude roadmap? Like you had all these other things that you were working on before the company got AI fervor. Did you throw out the whole roadmap? Like half of it? How are you thinking about like allocating resources between these new AI bets into like existing stuff that makes money?
It's not like there's totally separate products. Like the goal of, for example, our what we're calling Ask AI, which is the chat interface in Amplitude, is to make it easier to use the existing product. And so, as we look at next year, there are 4 big priorities we have. One is rebuild Amplitude to be AI native. The second is make it much easier to use. The third is make sure our other products outside of analytics have parity with the competition. And the fourth is serve marketers really well. So that
it's hard, man. How many turns is this game?
Our foundational things we're doing on our session replay product, on our experimentation products, on our guided surveys product. For example, one big
I'm on turn.
is zoning, which is this way where you can look at a web page and then see the analytics overlaid on top of it.
I'm in the 1097, which means I'm in the year 1097.
Is one, they're a lot faster, more productive, so they're shipping a lot.
Why? Why do you have anxiety? So it means that we're getting close to the modern era.
The
Shit, man.
Is we had a lot of these AI projects as side projects for a bunch of people, and so let's have a dedicated team that kind of goes after them. But the existing team's still going to do work on making the Amplitude product great, and that work is just as important, because I think the timeline for change
Getting close to the modern era.
is much longer.
And how do you allocate people between the teams working on the new AI stuff and the more traditional SaaS stuff? Did they self-select into different groups? Is like is there like a challenging cultural divide there that you have to navigate?
No, I think by doing the AI, we had this whole metaphor. We talked about burning the boats, like we're all in on this. And there were some people that got even more into it, and they very naturally self-selected into a bunch of this work. Like it's crazy. It's like it's not just hey engineers. It's like designers too. Our very best designer at Amplitude, this guy named Will Newton. We actually had him spread among way too many projects, and he was like, no, I got to focus in. Like let's like say no to some of these for a little bit, so I can go really deep on this chat interface, and make sure that when we launch this thing in early next year, it's going to be awesome. So yeah, people will naturally kind of self-select it for out, and it's a 200-person org, so you get a whole spectrum of this. Can we talk about the thing that you said that made people angry on the internet?
Yeah. Which one?
I think it was the AI visibility tweet, right? I think generally I think you were making the point that a lot of these startups are sort of like features, not companies. YC we're going to take the other side of it and,
Oh, yeah.
and really argue that.
You guys have a visibility company that feels like every back.
It's become a popular idea. That's true.
Founders, not ideas.
I love it.
AI visibility aside, you've gone through the whole journey. Like you're in the badge, you started a company, now you're running a public company. You know, I think we would argue the side of just that the advantage that startups have in general is just like they don't have an existing customer base, they don't have revenue, they can like their customers are going to be more forgiving if the thing doesn't work yet, and these seem like advantages for like new startups attacking incumbent companies with like an AI product. But from your perspective, what are the advantages that like incumbent companies have over those? How do you think about it?
I think the real business has to be downstream of AI visibility. It's valuable. There's value in it, like just like there's value in the SEO world. But it's so easy to do. We did it. As I mentioned it's probably more like a few months and a few weeks, but we did it very quickly and gave it away for free, and it's been this incredible lead generation for us. And so the commoditization is going to happen real fast. I mean, you talk about like people talk about hey, SaaS going away because of AI. I think that's a great example of it. And so in contrast, if you look at I think businesses that have done very well here. So like there is a business I think that is very viable here, which is what AirOps is doing, where they have some visibility aspects, but they have a whole content generation business to help you create blog posts and other material on that. And that's the real business. And so I think all of these visibility businesses, like you can get it for free from us, you can get it, you're going to be able to get it free from a lot of other places, and you're going to have to construct a real business kind of downstream. And to maybe the flip side of it, like I think innovation in the space is great. It's already moved a lot in the last few months. One of the advantages we have is because we have an existing revenue base of hundreds of millions, we can give away this for free, and just and that's great because now a lot more people can get visibility without having to go through all the hoops of paying a company and get like tons of value out of it.
You have like you Spencer the founder, like right out of college, started a company, now you're a company CEO. Let's say, so you have all this knowledge from seeing like what things look like at scale. Let's say you went out and started another company again. You were looking at like markets to go into, and you were thinking about like where are markets where you would imagine like, oh, like this incumbent's actually really good, and like we should just say AI is not going to give us an advantage, and which are ones where you go, oh yeah, like actually no, that's totally vulnerable, and like they're not going to like we really compete with them.
I mean, honestly, I joke about this, but anything Google's trying to do, I think that Google's the worst B2B company of all time, and there's an incredible opportunity to compete with them. So I look at email, I look at workspace stuff. I think what the Notion guys, for example, are doing as competitor Google Docs is very exciting. Institutionally, Google's way too slow, way too conservative that to be able to do this. And so it's only when other companies start to innovate that they get their stuff together. Same with this coding thing. They've proven it can work from a technology standpoint, but bringing it to market, selling it to customers, making it work from a product standpoint, I think is very ripe for disruption. Honestly, so we've seen it in coding. We're starting to see it in support. We're seeing, we think there's a massive opportunity in analytics that we're uniquely positioned for. I think there's going to be a cursor moment in analytics in the next 2 years, no question in my mind, where people are going to use analytics with AI, and you're going to be like, why did we ever do it the old way? I can't even imagine going back. I think there's a lot of very generalized agent builders, and I think picking a particular problem in a particular buyer is going to be a much more successful way of building a business. There's probably multiple generalized agent builders every YC batch now too, and so having a strong point of view for a particular buyer that cares about some things. Like one of the ones I saw recently was like I think there's all these studies being like hey, enterprise is failing without AI. If you look at if you kind of dig into the why behind it, there's all these security compliance concerns, and so I think there's a good opportunity to solve those to get much faster adoption of these products. There has to be a Uber for tech support. When I was in high school, I ran my own IT support business, just helping people around the neighborhood fix their computers because it's like set my Wi-Fi network up, set my printer, whatever. And the fact there's still not a scaled solution, it just blows my mind for this. Like you have a lot of people that are older, that are not native to technology, that have a bunch of money and want this stuff to be set up. And you have this young generation that desperately needs money, that has a ton of expertise in technology.
Before
And
it
so a business
turns.
that matches those.
Oh, they want to make peace with me.
Spend a lot of time helping people figure out the idea actually, and it's like
It's hard. It's really hard. It's extraordinary.
I don't think everyone realizes how Amplitude started out. Can you maybe talk about your journey to actually finding the Amplitude idea and maybe reflections on it a decade later?
So before Amplitude,
Actually, I do kind of want to make peace
the voice
because
recognition was like an early version of Siri, and it had this really amazing demo actually where you could listen to the background for your voice, and this was before any of the Hey Siri, Hey Alexa stuff. And so it like listened to the background on an Android phone. As far as we can tell, we were the first to come out with technology. We didn't know anything about what made for a successful product or business or company. We were just kind of taking a shot on that. We were just two kids out of college that were like, okay, what's a problem that seems barely at the edge of possible? That's probably an interesting place for us to go to. We ended up choosing voice recognition, not because we're passionate about the space. So we did YC with that. We did went through the whole batch, did demo day, did this amazing demo on stage. We got tons of press written about us. But the product, it wasn't a good enough product. And so we ended up
actually Germany is quite strong. So
we had always built our own analytics in house. It's what you do as an engineer. You're always like, I want to build this instead of paying Amplitude money, because it was very clear to us this was the right way to build product. It was you would look at what people did in your product, you would understand them deeply, and you could build and iterate on a better product. And so we ended up, when we showed what we had done on the analytics side to a lot of the companies that were like, hey, we want this. And so that right after YC Winter 2012 demo day, we ended up pivoting to Amplitude. And that was, I think that was June of 2012.
But analytics was a pretty crowded space.
Oh, extraordinarily crowded.
Like, did that factor into your thinking about getting into it at all?
A little bit, and so you have to ask yourself, it's like, hey, why do you think you're different? We knew this was a particularly good problem compared to voice recognition, and a lot of AI stuff, frankly. Those were problems, so you could not get a right answer. And we were a bunch of algorithms engineers coming out of MIT. And so this problem of how do you analyze it seems amazing because it's like, okay, you build this really scaled distributed system and you can get the right answer, and it's just about doing it better and faster. That sounds great, amazing. In comparison to voice recognition, I think in retrospect, we got lucky that we were particularly suited for that problem. And then the other point of view I think I had was that I see all these great engineers and great founders who built these amazing pieces of technology, but just did not really understand how to get it in the hands of customers and sell it and all that. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna do that. I don't even think I do that particularly well. But just because we really want to do that to kind of build the next thing, you compound that 10 years later, and now you're a leader in the space.
Do you have like a method for learning these things? Like one of the things I remember was once you went to Amplitude, then it was B2B sales, and then you got really good at it, but you didn't know anything about
I'm not good at B2B sales, to be clear. I still feel imposter to this day.
But being able to do it at all, like from an engineering background, I mean, and being willing to learn how to do it and realizing like, oh, this is actually my go-to-market and I have to do it this way.
Yeah, analytics. I think in particular, there's some products that you can adopt without selling, and that like people just they have single player mode. Cursor's a great example, Slack's a great example. But there's some where you need to convince multiple people at the same time that you're going to go do it, and that requires a sales motion. The number one misconception I had was like this would be something you learn out of a book or on a website, or you kind of read about. But one, you have to do it, and it's like two, you just want to get someone who's good at coaching. So we worked with this guy Mitch Mirando who coached, he's a sales exec who'd gone and coached a bunch of other companies. I just happened to randomly meet him through Sensor Tower guys actually, and I was like, okay, this is the expert I need teaching me everything you know about sales. And then he would just come in once a week and just meet me up and just occasionally, what's the customer pain? They want some dashboard charts. It's not a business pain. What's the pain? So after a while, I get the message. It's very much like learning a sport or playing an instrument in a lot of ways. You're not going to do it reading a book. You want to just do it and then get a little bit of advice and coaching on the side. Like that's the much better approach.
And you've said this several times even in this hour that you find certain people who are really, really great. If you could give the 20-year-old version of yourself like the cheat sheet on what you learned about finding those mentors. Like are there is it like I know when I see it, or there's a track record, or
Oof, it's so hard. I mean, I've been extraordinarily lucky, and this is one of the great parts of Silicon Valley is there's such a positive sum, help others, pay it forward mentality. I mean, Mitch was YC is an amazing one. It's very clear. I mean, the best advice I can have is be clear in your own head about what you're trying to learn, and then be open to where it comes from. So you first need to be clear on what you're trying to do, and that's what I think people fuck that up a lot. They don't get really crystal clear on why they're trying to build a startup or what they need to do to be successful, and then from there, how you get the
Scythian Empire.
Can I ask like one more kind of question? Hearing you speak about your experience at Amplitude, it's just really inspiring because like you go all the way into the details. You have this capability of hyper focus, and then it's like how do you direct it? Like how do you know that you're hyper focusing on one thing?
It's on my YouTube.
Like, do you have like
I want to view it.
where you're like,
Damn it, man, it's kind of hard.
Is that actually the most important thing? Like, how do you prevent just like rattling on something?
It's hard. One of the things I did before starting a company was get real clear in my head as to what I wanted to do with my career and why. And one of the takeaways I had was you want to dedicate yourself to a mission that's greater than yourself. You be part of contributing some larger reality. And what I wanted to do was to build something and sell it. And so, okay, what's the best way I can do that? Starting a company. And then from there, it's just, you kind of use the gold, you create a gold tree that goes down from there. Okay, let's figure out what product to build. Let's figure out how to sell that product. And then it just kind of falls in place. I find that where people get screwed up most on that is they are not clear. And by the way, starting a company is extraordinarily difficult. I do not recommend it for the vast majority of people. I mean, there's so many times, like every few years, I've gotten to a spot where I feel like I want to quit the business and feel that deeply. And the best counter to that is I kind of go back to why I came to this business. And so I think if you get that top node really right, you can always kind of angle it. You always know, okay, I just continue to see this through. Somehow, I don't know necessarily how, it'll lead back to, hey, I'm going to create build technology and make the world a better place in my own little way. So that would be my number one advice for anyone that's coming out of school or thinking of starting companies. Get real clear on that. I think the worst, you guys see it all the time, which is like, hey, I'll do it, and if it takes off, I'll double down. If not, I'll go back to grad school or a job or whatever. And that's like the worst of this. But you have to put up with certain people on time. You have to have all these existential questions hanging over your head. You're not going to get through it. Like if you look, one of the big takeaways, like I read Founders at Work, and one of the really clear takeaways from any of these journeys is there is a point that you get to a year, maybe 2 years in, where from a rational standpoint, you probably should quit. For whatever reason, those successful ones don't, and so that's the number one filtering criteria. Not to say there's no guarantees. Getting that top node really clear so that you can anchor on it over a very long period of time is the most important, I found.
Intrinsic motivation.
Yeah, if you're doing it for like recognition from others, or hey, because you're going to get paid a lot or whatever else, your ability to last through is going to be worse than someone else's.
I mean, embedded in that, I'm taken by earlier you were saying like at every point of Amplitude, there's sort of a moment where you have to learn how to do something and you grow into that. And then being a public company CEO is one of those things. Walk me through like how you started, like the intrinsic motivation, and then now it's like it feels like you have a really big responsibility on your back. It's like people look to you for leadership, and you're the leader of a great many people, and they have families. And
yeah. I mean, they're betting their careers on what we're doing here. It's a very deep responsibility. As a founder, your job is always to run to the most difficult problem in the business and be confront. And so if there's an incredibly difficult piece of code, a difficult product or design problem, a difficult customer, a difficult employee problem, whatever, you need to go. The great founders will go head first into it and be confront, and they will rally the rest of the team behind. Even if you look at the successful founder CEOs, after about a decade, most of them, and in my mind, it's actually for this very reason, because being a large company executive is different, and because you can't lead by example everywhere all the time. There are places you can. You can't do universally because it's like, okay, you got to do sales, you got to do marketing, you got to do people, you got to do it on the product, you got to do it with customers, you got to do it with press, and it's like the list goes on. There's just too much. You have to be much more disciplined about your time to do most stuff. And then what you realize is you become the person you hate. You always respond to big companies. You're not doing the work for themselves and just like judging other people's work all the time. But there's a reason, and you have to embrace that reason. And so it's very hard. That is a very hard thing to unlearn. Another thing, which still hurts me up to this day, and I hate, and I try to run Amplitude differently, but there's truth to it, is like hierarchy. There is a reason for hierarchy.
Okay. I learned that hard way.
You need to have people who own certain things and who are responsible for leading certain teams and other people within the business. It's much easier, in my mind, I think, to be a large company executive because you have all these resources and all this leverage. You actually work at like we're deploying, we're 350 million in revenue, and we're deploying close to that in terms of total spend every year. So you have a lot of resources to do stuff. Now you're learning about how do you actually deploy those resources effectively. So there's leverage that you have as a large company that you don't as a founder, which is awesome. And but it's a very different tool set and very different set of skills in order to build a business successfully. And that's been the hardest transition by far.
I think this will be really interesting in the next couple of years then, because like sort of this flies a little bit in the face of the most facile view of what founder life is. Like the most facile view, like you have to be all the way in the weeds 100% of the time, which is like obviously
you do.
impossible.
Well, you can't do it everywhere. You have to be clear on where you're doing it.
Yeah. So there's just like a lot more nuance.
Yeah, it's one of those like there's like a million management books about this thing, and they kind of all try to abstract it into some framework. And none of them are really right. You go through it and experience it yourself and get coaching from others who do, and that's how you kind of figure it out. But that transition to large company executive, that one's really important.
Well, in the immortal words of Bob Marley, one good thing about product market fit is when it hits, you feel no pain.
Oh yeah.
And then hopefully people watching this will actually get a chance to experience some of the problems that people live on daily basis.
Absolutely. One of the things I'm actually very appreciative, Gary, that you and PG, Jessica, and others are doing is just helping people tell these later stage stories. One of the things I think YC's done exceptionally well is like, to the extent you can have a playbook for what is like the early stages, you guys have written and talked about it and made everyone out there aware of it, so they know what path it looks like. It's still incredibly hard, but at least as guidance doesn't exist for a lot of later stage stuff as you grow up. So I'm very appreciative that you guys are doing that.
There's levels to it, but thank you for sharing your levels.
Of course.
Do you feel like we could try to do that playbook for how fast people can read that themselves with the editor?
I still feel like imposter on this thing to this day, but I'm very happy to contribute. Very curious. There are a lot of people who all the time, you can spend infinite time with people, organization, customers, with partners, with investors, whoever, and so you have to think about like no one knows what to do. As founder, you're prepared, and so you're just paying attention. So if they do, okay, this is great, but as a large company, it's like you have to be very. One of the things I am deliberately trying to do is just be more out there and vocal. So you see it on Twitter, you see it just trying to be. There's still an aperture you're constrained to as a CEO, but most are just so conservative they're not putting anything out there. And so I'm at least trying to kind of share my story, put it out there, put my hot takes on politics, religion, whatever, products, companies out there, and so at least others can learn and benefit from that too. And honestly, it's like who I am ultimately. I want to be able to express who I am. I don't have to be this other persona that I'm not, or try to represent something I'm not. I believe that.
Spencer, thank you so much for spending time with us. This is super illuminating. Can't wait to see
我有8000差不多。
you resurgence coming into every
There is a
对
invention of analytics in the next few years.
现在没底啊。
没有跌。
You heard it here first. We'll see you guys next time.
要注意啊！如果赚的够，先卖掉，先卖。
日本没有问题。
60，日本现在变化很大。
Every weekend in towns across the U.S., Americans of all ages flood into shopping malls, convention centers, and stores with binders full of Pokemon cards and slingbacks full of cash. These local card shows are flourishing as real-world spaces for the Pokemon community to meet, trade, and connect. The modern
70 cubits high, representing the sun.
早年的时候，俄罗斯搞欧亚联盟，对，所以日本还需要再更加努力。建大使怎么看这件事？其实连通商还有住友化学等等这种日本企业有9间，也向美国国际贸易法院来提出诉讼，并加入新闻大白话。我是主持人谭一文，节目开始来介绍今天的特别来宾。首先是文大国际所教授邱毅。主持人好，大家好。前驻牛大使叶文基。主持人
the US, Americans of all ages flood into shopping malls, convention centers, and stores with binders full of Pokemon cards and slingbags full of cash. These local card shows are flourishing as real world spaces for the Pokemon community to meet, trade, and connect. The modern Pokemon card game is a mass market phenomenon unlike any other, part hobby, part investment, and part cultural revival. While sneakers and the Boo Boo dolls turn into cold transactional secondary markets driven by exclusion and exploitation, the Pokemon card scene has thrived on community spirit. This culture of inclusion and transparency has remarkably persisted even under this current boom, as money, scalpers, and payers have all flowed in. Pokemon cards have reached record value across the board, as the ones that were worth tens or hundreds of dollars used to be have reached thousands over the years. Even though personal profit is the primary motive, information and insights circulate openly. Personal wins and losses get documented publicly. Veterans act as teachers and historians as much as trades, broadcasting their experiences, tips, and philosophies online before they even have audiences. Vendors operate like long-term enterprises rather than short-term flippers, leaning into relationships, personality, and education rather than products to drive sales. All of these help launch learning curves for newcomers and reinforce a culture of camaraderie rarely seen in the secondary market. The commercial resurgence of Pokemon cards has not gone unnoticed. Entertainment franchises with
他钱还给你，你又给他，你这个人真奇怪。 他钱还给你，他为什么又给他？
什么意思？
Gate 讲你开机怎么你钓鱼花枪你听到？
From this lens, Pokemon cards are just the latest in a long history of trading assets. To get the alternative in conjecture, we scrape every value of Pokemon card from every set and era to quantify the rationale behind irrational.
他钱还给你，你为什么又给
就
他？
是抓那个 gate，你知道吗？
他钱还给你，
他等下给我们现在他不会拿我们的钱，昨天给他，
是谁啊？
我们隔壁呀，那种，人家他叫我们俩，双方都没俩，是坐在里面。
他没叫你娘，他说他过一会儿会来，你都听得懂他讲话。
我没听到，还给他，他不会拿，没关系。
Your competitors are already making their move. No more waiting. With NetSuite by Oracle, you can put AI to work today. NetSuite is the number one AI platform trusted by over 43,000 businesses. NetSuite is a unified suite that brings your financial, inventory, commerce, HR, and CRM into a single solution. Every business produces data, but whether you have the time to make sense of it is the difference between stagnation and success. Even great business